Tonight on Reporting Scotland, the Prime Minister promises to curb migration over the next 4 years. But the government here says his plans will hit care homes, universities and the Scottish economy. Also on tonight's programme, teachers are calling on the Scottish Government to urgently publish new guidance on how schools should deal with single-sex spaces.
Coming up in tonight's sport, Hearts open talks with Kilmarnock in a bid to secure Derek McInnes as their new manager.
We play in school and after school we're best friends.
And we hear from Shannon and Molly, the only two pupils in one of the smallest schools in the country, but they're expecting others to join them soon. Hello, I'm Laura Miller. Welcome to Monday's programme. The Prime Minister has unveiled a new immigration policy which he says would take back control of the UK's borders. As part of the strategy, the UK government is aiming to cut the recruitment of care workers from overseas and tighten English language requirements for immigrants. The First Minister says Keir Starmer has walked right into the arms of Reform UK leader Nigel Farage, while some sectors reliant on migrants say the changes could deal a blow to their businesses. Our Westminster correspondent Rajdeep Sandhu reports.
For years, workers from abroad have played a key role in powering industries like the care sector. But Keir Starmer wants to end what he called an addiction to importing cheap labour. Bosses say if that comes to an end, it could decimate social care.
If we can't take on any more visa-sponsored staff, then eventually we will have to contract and potentially close the doors. That will be quite a way down the line, but the fact of the matter is that with any business these days you want to try and keep growing.
Under the changes, people coming to the UK would need a better standard of English, higher qualifications of a university degree, and it would take longer to get a permanent status in the UK, from 5 years to 10 years. Businesses are being told to hire homegrown workers.
There's a massive scarcity of willing, able people out there to actually work in our industry in particular, amongst others. And without the right labour force, it can impact on food supply, the rural economy.
Early this morning, the Prime Minister promised migration will fall.
We will create a migration system that is controlled, selective and fair. A clean break with the past that links access to visas directly to investment in homegrown skills.
So what do voters in Aberdeen think about having fewer people from abroad?
Could be a bad thing in terms of, lower skilled workers and employment in care homes, and that would concern me.
Britain's been open since after the war, so maybe it's time to just slow down a bit and look after our own for a while.
I think they're completely welcome. I've got no problems with it.
What about yourself? What do you think?
I think that it's if you do your papers and everything checks out, I feel then why not? I don't see why it wouldn't be a problem.
The First Minister said the plans were deeply damaging for Scotland.
Scotland has a working age population that needs to be expanded, and migration can help us to expand our working age population, and it can help us to grow the economy. But all of that has been undermined by what the Prime Minister has announced today.
Trying to shift an economy that has depended, rightly or wrongly, on people from abroad is a huge task, but one Labour hopes wins over voters. Rajdeep Sandhu, Reporting Scotland, Westminster.
Well, let's get the thoughts now of our political editor, Glenn Campbell, who's at Holyrood for us tonight. Glenn, what are the particular factors around immigration in Scotland?
Well, Scotland has an ageing population, and that would also be a shrinking population were it not for people from across the UK and across the world choosing to come and live and earn here. Now, that's not to say there aren't some voters who are concerned about immigration in Scotland. There are. but it's never really been the sort of hot button issue that it can be at times elsewhere. And I think that's partly because Scotland hasn't experienced high levels of immigration, the sort of mass immigration that some communities in England, for instance, have experienced.
OK, so what about the politics of it all where you are tonight in Holyrood?
Well, the First Minister's calls for a Scottish visa I don't think will get very far, because the UK Home Office, whichever political party is in charge at Westminster, much prefers a unified system, a one-size-fits-all system. Although it's worth remembering there has been specific flexibility for Scotland in the past when the Labour First Minister Jack McConnell persuaded the UK Labour government for a short period at least to allow overseas graduates in Scotland to remain for an extra couple of years. I think one of the interesting things here at Holyrood is the political consensus there has been over many years. Politicians on all sides have tended to be quite relaxed about immigration, have seen it as being beneficial to our economy and society. I do wonder if that's going to start to come under strain as some political parties feel the electoral pressure from Reform UK, which wants to cut immigration dramatically. And just as a for instance, tonight the Scottish Conservative Party have told me that they support the idea of getting rid of that specific social care visa, and they, along with Scottish Labour, think the Scottish Government should be doing more to make work in that area much more attractive to those who are already resident in Scotland.
OK, Glenn Campbell at Holyrood, thank you. The former First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, is the latest high-profile politician to say she will not back a proposal to bring in assisted dying in Scotland. She outlined her intention to vote against the bill at Holyrood tomorrow in what she said was the most difficult decision in her career as an MSP. Ms Sturgeon's announcement comes after similar statements from current First Minister John Swinney and Scottish Labour leader Anna Sarwar, among others. And Reporting Scotland will be broadcasting a special programme tomorrow night live from Holyrood following the debate and vote on assisted dying at the Scottish Parliament. Now, teachers are calling on the Scottish Government to urgently publish new guidance on how schools should deal with single-sex spaces. The Scottish Secondary Teachers Association passed an emergency motion at the weekend demanding ministers provide clarity to schools and head teachers following the recent ruling by the Supreme Court. Well, our social affairs correspondent Lucy Adams has been following the story and is here now. So what have teachers been saying then, Lucy?
Well, the union's saying that teachers are effectively stuck between a rock and a hard place after last month's ruling. So on the one hand, they have this guidance from the Scottish Government, which came out in 2021, which says there's no law excluding trans pupils from spaces designated male or female only. But on the other hand, we had last month's Supreme Court ruling, which contradicts and actually completely overrides this. But the Scottish Government has not withdrawn it. So while the ruling might have provided some legal clarity, teachers and schools are saying that the practicalities of what they do with toilets and changing rooms is a very different matter. Now, Stuart Hunter is the president of the SSTA. He says this needs to be sorted out not in a few months' time, but actually right now, because teachers are in the classroom, they're in schools every day, and the concern is they might be breaking the law.
We are currently in a situation where the 2021 guidelines are potentially, well, not potentially, they are illegal in certain elements of it. Therefore, this has to be dealt with now. That has to be addressed now, because our colleagues and our young people are in a position here where until the guidance comes out, then you actually have a vulnerability that exposes staff and young people.
So has the Scottish Government responded to this intervention?
So they've just come back to us and they've told us that they're waiting for the consultation and the new code of practice and guidance from the Equality and Human Rights Commission. While they're waiting, they've said that they've created a working group to get prepared and ensure consistency and support across government. Now, the judges in last month's ruling said, most importantly, the law needs to be clear and consistent on this. But teachers are saying what they really need now is clear, consistent guidelines on how to do this in practice. And it sounds like that's not going to be forthcoming for some months yet.
OK, Lucy, thank you. To some of the day's other stories now. An investigation into the death of 28-year-old Josh Taplin and the assault of a 41-year-old woman in Glasgow has been ended by police. It comes after the death of a 37-year-old man who fell from a window in Killearn Street in Glasgow last Wednesday. Officers had been looking to interview this man in connection with the murder of Mr Taplin. Police said they are not looking for anyone else in respect of Mr Taplin's death. A man has been charged in connection with the death of a 71-year-old woman in Glasgow. Margaret McGowan was pronounced dead at a house in Nitshill on Saturday evening. A 78-year-old man has been charged and a report will be sent to the Procurator Fiscal. Officers say it is a contained incident. And a statue of Robert Burns in Glasgow's George Square has been removed as part of improvement works. Over the next 10 days, all of the square's statues will be removed and placed into storage. They will return to the square in 2026 after revamp works are complete. 25 firefighters remain at the scene of a wildfire in West Lothian. Emergency services were called to the blaze in a woodland area near Falthouse on Saturday morning. A large stretch of land has been affected. The Scottish Fire and Rescue Service says it has also had to involve police in keeping members of the public away from the wildfire and prevent people from flying drones over the area as they battle the blaze.
We had a large fire that started on Saturday morning. It was a wildfire, as such we call it, spreading rapidly due to weather conditions, extremely dry conditions and wind conditions, which unfortunately resulted in 70 to 100 hectares being involved in the fire. Right now we're at the stage where the main seats of fire have now been extinguished and we're currently just damping down the incident just now.
The Scottish Government is to increase scrutiny on NHS Grampian over concerns about its finances and governance. The Health Secretary, Neil Gray, says there are continuing concerns about finances, while the Health Board welcomed the additional support. Rachel Bell has more.
Like many health boards, NHS Grampian is facing significant financial challenges. In January, it was escalated to stage 3 of NHS Scotland's National Performance Framework. Essentially, this is a performance scale from 1 to 5, and health boards can move up or down, and then depending on what level you're at depends on how much support you're given. Last month, it was announced that NHS Grampian would receive a loan of £67 million from the Scottish Government to help tackle its overspend. And now it's been escalated to stage 4, meaning more scrutiny and external consultants who will come in and help devise a package of support.
Colleagues will remember the situation with the critical incident that there was in Grampian before Christmas, and we're working with them to make sure that there is a continued sustained service delivery that patients would expect, and this escalation allows us to continue to provide that increased intervention and support.
Grampian is not the only health board to find itself in this position. NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde and NHS Forth Valley have been at level 4 in previous years. NHS Grampian says it welcomes the additional support and it wants to reassure the public that their care remains a priority. Rachel Bell, reporting Scotland, Aberdeen.
Well, the news at 7 is coming up shortly over on the BBC Scotland channel. Amy Irons is here to tell us more. What's on the programme tonight, Amy?
Later in the programme, as we always do, but we're going to be looking at the issue of RTS electricity meters. So these old style electricity meters, it's 50 days until this big switch off begins. But as of figures at the end of April, 135,000 homes in Scotland still have these old style meters. So we're going to be joined by someone from Advice Direct Scotland just to tell us what exactly you need to do if you are affected and what is likely to happen after this deadline at the end of June.
Yeah, lots of important information for people. OK, Amy, thank you. Tonight's main news again. The First Minister says the UK Government's new immigration policy will hit care homes, universities and the Scottish economy. In on a new manager as they open talks with Kilmarnock, which could see Derek McInnes leave Rugby Park. Now, with just 2 pupils, it's one of the smallest schools in the country. Durer Primary School in the West Highlands looked like it would close, but now with many toddlers and babies in the area, it's expected that the school roll will soon increase. Highland Council, who had previously earmarked the school for closure, has now agreed, following a campaign by local residents, to keep the school open. We went along to spend a day with the pupils and their teacher.
This is our school. This is our Welly school. I'm P6, I'm Shannon. I'm Molly, I'm age 9 and we are in Durer Primary.
My name is Holly and I'm the class teacher at Durer Primary School. We are in the west coast of Scotland in the Highlands and we're a uniquely small school with just 2 pupils.
We're really close. We mostly do everything all together, kind of every day. We play in school and after school we're best friends.
It is wonderful. Not many people get this opportunity as a teacher and I don't think everybody would like it, but I absolutely love it. I love the flexibility and the freedom for going out and exploring. If the weather's good, yeah, we can go and do our work down at the beach. We don't have to stay in the classroom.
We go here about once or twice a week. We like to go down to the water after we're done all of our lessons. We get to do math, spelling, stories. We make up our own stories.
We all sit down and eat lunch together. It's a really special teacher-pupil relationship. You get to know them really well. You don't just have them for 1 year.
Miss Grace prints pictures out of us that we've done and she sticks us in this big book that we have. We're learning how to do CPR. That's our friends that we had on Mark. That's when we went to the beach and my welly boots nearly got swept away.
On paper it's 2 children. In reality it's the whole community. We have so many more children in the school throughout the week with the toddler group and with our nurture group. I think the fact that we have managed to keep it open and keep it going shows like what you can do with a small school and why they're important, not just as a school but within the wider community.
We wanted this to stay open because obviously I've been here for most of my life. It's such a nice school and I think people should really go here because it's such a good school and I would never want it to close. But not too many people, please.
Oh, Molly and Shannon, they're very pleased with that news. OK, let's get tonight's sport now with Lewis. Hello.
Hi, Laura. Hello there. Well, Hearts have opened talks with Kilmarnock in a bid to agree a deal that would see Derek McInnes leave Rugby Park and become the new head coach at Tynecastle. Brian McLaughlin has the latest for us.
Yeah, never a dull moment down Tynecastle Way these days. It's just 2 weeks since Hearts sacked Neil Critchley after a disappointing run of results. Now, the board met at the weekend and they've decided that the Kilmarnock boss, Derek McInnes, is who they have chosen as their preferred candidate to take over the reins here at Tynecastle. Hearts saying very little today other than there will be a media conference tomorrow at lunchtime, but it will be interim head coach Liam Fox who will take that ahead of Wednesday night's game against St Johnstone. Now, one former Hearts captain has been giving us his views on what Derek McInnes would bring to the Tynecastle club as head coach.
Derek's well known in Scottish football. He's nearly been manager for 20 years now, and I think in the past he's been linked to the Hearts job many a time. But if it is to be, you know, he's a man who will straight away gain the respect of the dressing room, and again, just because he's been there and done it, and everyone knows who he is.
But what about Kilmarnock? They could be without a manager for the final 2 games of the season. They've said absolutely nothing at all today about what's going to happen. They are expected to have a media conference tomorrow. What we don't know is if it will be Derek McInnes taking charge of that, because they have an away game on Wednesday night against Motherwell. And as you would have it, Scottish football always works in mysterious ways. The final game of the season at Rugby Park just happens to be Kilmarnock against Hearts. Brian McLaughlin reporting Scotland at Tynecastle Stadium in Edinburgh.
The Ross County manager Don Cowie says he has full belief in his players' ability to stave off relegation and has reminded them that their fate is in their own hands. The Dingwall side had the chance to relegate St Johnstone but lost 2-1, their 7th straight defeat. The Saints remain bottom but are within 3 points of 11th place County with 2 games to go. Cowie's side will leapfrog Dundee into 10th if they win at Dens Park on Wednesday.
It's recognising the magnitude of the game, but not getting too caught up in it. You know, it's about giving the players that freedom, you know, not playing with any fear at what's at stake, you know, in terms of the result. Because I've got real belief in them. You know, I've seen it numerous times this year, what they're capable of doing, and it's just reinforcing those messages.
The Partick Thistle co-manager Mark Wilson says his players feel unstoppable after overcoming the odds to book the place in the semi-finals of the Premiership playoff. The Firhill side came back from a goal down to overturn their tie with Ayr United. Wilson's fellow co-boss Brian Graham at the double to spark wild scenes at Somerset Park. Next up for Thistle is Livingston, who finished second in the Championship. And you can watch tomorrow's first leg on BBC Scotland.
When you're winning football, you feel unstoppable at times, and because it's been against those top teams, the boys certainly know that we can go there or certainly win here. But of course Livingston have had a break now, that they can rest players up and can enjoy a wee bit of downtime. But I think as a player myself, I think I'd probably rather keep going.
We've definitely got the ability, we've got personality within the changing room. We've got an identity that we've kind of stuck to most of the season. So no, there's definitely a belief, there's definitely a desire that they can go and do this, and I believe we can go and do this.
To the women's game now, and the SWPL title race took a fascinating twist at the weekend as it heads into the final week of the season. Kirsty Howitt's first half goal was enough to clinch a 1-0 win for Rangers against Celtic at New Douglas Park, a result which moved them second in the league and to within 3 points of top spot. That's because Hibernian dropped points against Glasgow City ahead of a full midweek card of games and then the conclusion of the campaign on Sunday when they face Rangers in what could well be the decider. If the Ibrox club win their 2 remaining games, they'll clinch their second title.
As it's been every single week, it changes week in, week out. We are better placed now than what we thought we would be yesterday. So each day it's changing. We've got to go game for game. I've just said to the players that's the first one of a big 3. So it's the first one ticked off. We've got to move on to the next one, and we've got to get another big performance and hopefully another 3 points.
Now, many people who have things like MS or cerebral palsy have a condition which makes them more likely to fall over. Foot drop means sufferers struggle to keep their toes lifted, making walking difficult and tiring. Well, now researchers in Edinburgh have invented a shoe which they hope will solve the problem. And Joanne Macaulay has more.
Frequent falls are something that former Army nurse Jeanette Russell is used to. She has multiple sclerosis and foot drop as a result and struggles to walk unaided. But she's been trying out the new boot designed by researchers from Queen Margaret University, and here's the difference.
This is absolutely awesome. Oh, this new shoe has been completely life-changing. I don't have to wear any devices inside. I just put the boots on. I can drive, I can do the gym, I can do hill walking, I can walk over terrain that is really rough. I haven't had any falls since I've been wearing the shoes. So it's been completely life-changing.
The shoes have Velcro adjustable straps to fit each user and support the ankle. The team says it's a simple but effective concept.
You can adjust the elastic depending on your disability with regards to if you have a weaker muscle or you have a totally paralyzed muscle. You can actually activate the elastic to compensate for those things. You can also tighten the elastic more on one side than the other side. If you have a foot sometimes inverts, also people tend to trip over. Yeah.
Foot drop affects people with a variety of conditions such as MS, cerebral palsy and strokes. It's a worldwide problem which the team hope to help with.
We are particularly interested in developing simple design like sandals, but this could be integrated for people in hot countries or people living in low-income countries where people can't afford expensive boots.
The researchers say one advantage is that the shoes look like an everyday piece of clothing.
We felt we needed another option for people
that was more comfortable to wear, easier to put on, that is less conspicuous because it looks the same on either foot, and generally the people are more likely to keep using.
Ooh. Jeanette has even got back into hill walking with the help of her new boots, and she now has Ben Nevis in her sights. Joanne Macaulay reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
Good luck to her. OK, Judith is here with the weather. Yeah. I know that sight.
I know, isn't it? And I thought I'd give you a quick explanation. At this time of year, the North Sea's at its coldest, and when we get warm air coming out of the continent, once the two mingle, it generates har. So it's what we see at this time of year in the east, as you well know, as I well know, because I grew up there as well. But it did burn off, I'm glad to say, but there'll be more har to come as we head through this week. But glorious sunshine today, and indeed we saw the highest temperatures today across Scotland, the warmest day of the year. I'll just 25.4 Celsius there in Prestwick. I thought I was going to have to wing it there, but there you go. And high pressure going to stay with us right through this week, right through the weekend as well. It's not going anywhere fast. So we'll be left with warm, sunny weather. Not always warm for the east, though, with exposure to an easterly wind. Now, as far as this evening is concerned, it's dry, late sunshine. A bit of a weak weather front just pushing into northern Scotland, bringing thicker cloud. And we'll see har forming for parts of the east coast, pushing through the central lowlands as well. Overnight lows generally of around 6 to 8 Celsius. So into tomorrow, still that bank of thicker cloud across the very far north, that har in the east. Elsewhere, dry and sunny. The har promises to burn off, and that thicker cloud will continue to make its way southwards. But come the afternoon, though, it should brighten up over Shetland. Yes, there'll be some patches of har here and there, similarly for Orkney, but still some sunshine coming through. And across eastern Scotland, some of that low cloud and har lingering along the Murray coast down towards Inverness area, the Great Glen, parts of the east coast. But I think Edinburgh, the East Lothian and the eastern borders should be fine sunshine-wise. Cool on the east coast itself, but in the west, we could see even warmer tomorrow, 27 Celsius possible up across the West Highlands and the northwest. Around 14, 15, maybe 16 for the Western Isles. That's about what we'd expect at this time of year. Into tomorrow evening, har makes a return to parts of eastern Scotland through the central lowlands, clearing in the north though, and clear skies for the west. A lovely start for the west and the very far north, but that mist and low cloud burning off fairly quickly. We're left with a dry day, lots of sunshine, that warmth still continuing in the west, always cooler in the east with exposure to that easterly wind. And here's the outlook, well, for the rest of the week. Sunshine, warmth in the west, always a bit cooler in the east, but it really isn't going to change very much at all. Enjoy the weather while you can.
Absolutely, your job is done, Judith, thank you. And that is Reporting Scotland. I'll have your late news at 10:30. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.